welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
It's a strange thing that's happening today.
We've got Chris.
Vince, that was a nightmare.
And I'm Kia. Today we are talking about Doctor Strange. Oh, the movie is almost here. I don't know how excited other people are about this movie, because I think most of the real world kind of doesn't know who Doctor Strange is, but I love him as a character, so this gave us a good chance to talk about a particular Doctor Strange miniseries called The Oath from 2006-2007, written by Brian K. Vaughan. Probably the guy we've talked about the most on this show. He did Runaways, he did Paper Girls, did we do another one with him? Maybe that was it.
I don't know if we did that.
We
always talk about him
things.
because he's one of our favorite writers in general. Although, we hit or miss sometimes. We didn't care much for Paper Girls.
Noted enemy of
Noted.
Vince.
Noted enemy of Vince.
Enemy of Vince. Mm-hmm. But
beef.
Overall, we tend to like him. And art by Marcos Martin, who I actually don't think I had read anything by him before. Or if I had, I didn't really remember. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised because I know he's worked with Brian K. Vaughan on some other stuff like Private Eye. I'd never read. I'd never read Batgirl Year One, which I think you guys have sung praises about.
That's a good book. It's a beautiful book.
And he does the art for it, and I am loving his art in this.
He also does the first arc of the Daredevil relaunch, not the current one, but the one relaunch ago.
I think Wade had two different number ones. He did the first Mark Wade number one.
Oh, okay. So two relaunches ago?
2 or 3 relaunches ago. That one, he did that with Javier Pulido. Him and they alternated arc. And he also did a bit of the Spider-Man Big Time, the No One Dies arc with Dan Slott, probably around issue 650 to 660, somewhere in that range. This was definitely the first book I ever saw his art, though, and I was super high on him. I was like, yes.
I love his style. It reminds me a lot of Tim Sale a little bit. He always works with Jeff Loeb. They did Long Halloween together. They do the Marvel Colors series, like Spider-Man Blue, Daredevil Yellow, Hulk Gray. And basically the best part of all those books is Tim Sale's art. And this, I think, kind of reminded me of Tim Sale's art, but with less of that old-timey feel and more just detail and more dynamic images. I really loved it.
Mm-hmm. His coloring is really good, too.
Yeah. Although I guess technically someone else colors, right?
Mm-hmm. But whoever his artist is that works on him.
Whoever's doing it, yeah. Overall, really like this story. It's just a kind of like a fun Doctor Strange quick little miniseries. And I think Doctor Strange has historically been one of those characters that's kind of difficult to write for because it has so many cool concepts, but sometimes writing for magic users can be tough. I've tried to read some old Doctor Strange, and it's very here's a weird thing that I'm going to mention. Here's another weird thing. Oh, cool details all over the place. And usually the thing I end up loving the most about Doctor Strange comics is the bizarre art, like when he goes into the otherworldly dimensions and stuff like that. Lots of really cool stuff. And I think this one spends a lot of time in the real world, but you get enough of that kind of otherworldly weirdness that it's still very, very satisfying.
Has Mike Allred ever done Doctor Strange, Chris? Do you know?
I don't know that he has. Who's done an amazing Doctor Strange comic is Mike Mignola, the creator of Hellboy.
Oh, yeah.
He did a team-up Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange comic that I think it's actually a graphic novel in the 80s.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Oh, in the 80s? Before he was even big time?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Because I feel like Strange's art could be really done. Who drew all the Thanos stuff? I can't remember his name now.
Jim Starlin.
Yeah, Starlin. I'm thinking of Silver Surfer artists. I think could really go well over to Strange, in terms of
And so Doctor Strange is a Steve Ditko creation, like Spider-Man, and it definitely owes a lot of its sort of trippiness to really Steve Ditko's creativity in terms of just creating all this, bizarre astral form. Astral plane, all these crazy villains. It's really Steve Ditko's brainchild, and it's really, I mean, it's a lot different than Jack Kirby stuff, which we normally see in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, where I'm jumping a little ahead of ourselves here, but that you brought up Nightmare, Chris, at the beginning of the podcast. That panel with Nightmare and like the weird dream world is maybe my favorite in the entire book. It's just like this weird cloaked figure sitting on top of this just evil looking unicorn. Like, it is, I would get a tattoo of this thing in a heartbeat. Like, it is fucking amazing. I love it. Anyways, all right, we should probably get into the story here. So before I get too far into it, Brian K. Vaughan, he does this nice thing, especially with this story, of kind of throwing you into the middle of the story and revealing what it's all about piece by piece as you need to know it, which I would say last time we talked about him in Paper Girls did not work for us because it felt too random and never explained anything. Here, I think it works very well. I don't know. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I think I without getting too far into the story, I think it ramps itself up and it focuses itself in a really good way, because the book is not really focused on Doctor Strange at all. It's focused on Wong and Night Nurse, and I think that's a really interesting way to like layer you into the Doctor Strange world. It ends up Wong giving Night Nurse a lot of the exposition about like who Doctor Strange is, like what are all these kind of like weird monster things that are going on, what's the astral plane, all these kind of things like that Doctor Strange and Wong just wouldn't talk about naturally because they both have a good understanding. Wong is his assistant, by the way. And so I like Night Nurse as like a character there that allows you that she's like the audience surrogate for,
right,
but and not like in a not just being like in a lame like 13-year-old kid, like, oh shucks, but
like with how they always did with the Hulk and his little kid Rick Jones, who would always follow him around. Like you always kind of had to have those audience surrogates back then with these big dumb characters who couldn't talk for themselves. And I think you're right. It's absolutely super it helps a lot when you have such a bizarre out there character. I think in the current Doctor Strange run that Jason Aaron is writing, he's got like a little audience surrogate which is there to ask questions so that they can be explained to. You're right, it works very well. And we open up in Night Nurse's waiting room, and you're right, there's no Doctor Strange in this. It's Iron Fist and Aranya,
which is really what
kind
dates
of like
this
little
book.
girl spider kind of thing.
Poor Aranya.
I haven't seen her in a while.
Is she dead?
Oh, yeah. But she,
I think so.
Know.
She may have been in Spider-Verse. I don't know. She may have died in one of the Grim Hunt also. I don't know. I start getting the Spider-Girls confused.
But now there's so much dimension hopping, though, that I'm pretty sure they've run into her in like another dimension, and we'll probably bring her home at some point. Who knows? But anyways, Iron Fist and Aranya, they're waiting to see Night Nurse, and they're, like whipping here and there, and Doctor Strange comes in, he's been shot, we need to help Doctor Strange.
And that's a cool single page, because
rather than...
I like, Vaughan does this trick a lot where he kind of has like a quippy thing that doesn't seem really related to the book to like lull you into the world to then smack you with like the main character. He does really good, he plots really good single page splashes to be like, shot Doctor Strange is, in here after like kind of like a silly scene. I mean, Runaway starts with like a weird MMO. It's not unlike him to do this, but it's just a good enough scene for me at least to forget, oh yeah, I'm reading a Doctor Strange book. Oh shit, he's already been shot. Like that's a good place to start the book.
Yeah. Right in the middle. And then they kind of go back and reveal how they got to that point. And, at this point, I kind of just want to go through the next couple of issues real quick and give you a synopsis so that we're all on the same page. It doesn't work as well when you're trying to explain it in an audio format. So here's the deal. Here's what's going on. Wong has brain cancer. Oh shit, manservant has brain cancer. What am I going to do? And part of it, like the reason this thing is called the Oath is like the Hippocratic Oath. Like, oh, Doctor Strange promises he's going to like save Wong's life. And they go out, they go to this other dimension. Doctor Strange steals a cure for cancer. What is this thing called? Kid's elixir or something like that? Did you guys write it down?
At that point, that's what it's called, yeah.
Okay, cool. Odd Kid's elixir, which is the cure for cancer. And then somebody steals it from Doctor Strange and shoots him, and we end up where we are now. And they kind of do more flashbacks here and there. There's a great moment with Doctor Strange kind of doing some research in some building, trying to figure things out when they get attacked, and Wong is like taking care of him and doing all the fighting back there while Doctor Strange is oblivious. I kind of like those little moments like that. It didn't necessarily feel like Doctor Strange completely. Like I feel like he'd be all knowing in a way, but it still was a nice little moment.
So my like, so up to this point, like what I like about this book is that, like, one, it does its flashbacks really well. It doesn't like recolor them, and it doesn't even have like text to say like this happened earlier. Like, but
yeah, you just have to know. Yeah,
but it's easy to track, which is really weird.
Right.
Like, you're not like, oh wait, why the fuck are they not like shot anymore? Like, you don't think that. Like, it flows really well. And I was like looking at the pages, I'm like, what is he doing here to make his flashbacks clean like this? Like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I know what's happening, but I don't know from like a technical level what he's doing to make the story do that. Because I'm totally following that, because it's jumping between like the present day ish, where Strange has been shot. And it's also got really cool imagery, because like he's now in his astral projection, like as a ghost kind of thing, helping Night Nurse.
Yeah, talking to Night Nurse. Yeah, that's a really cool moment.
And that's only something you can do in Doctor Strange, or like in like a superhero book, and like specifically like his type of character, which is really, really weird and cool. And I'm like, this is a unique use that only Doctor Strange could do. And it's also fun because it allows him to be like in mortal peril, but still be like interesting as a fun character.
Right.
And then like it flashes back to like them, him fighting the monsters, and it does a great splash page to end the book. The first issue was like, it was the cure for cancer, which is like, oh shit, like I got to read next month. Like this is some next level stuff. And then it jumps between like right before he was shot, or like Doctor Strange like getting his powers, which is probably going to be shown in the movie, like getting injured, and it jumps between all of these things like pretty logically. Like it makes sense where it happens.
Yeah, it does a great job of kind of giving you that necessary recap of his origin, where it's like, oh, I was a surgeon, broke my hands, blah, 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 couldn't, blah, 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 went to Tibet and found magic. Kind of the end, but gives it to you real quick as that kind of obligatory nod to it. We also get something else that's a little, not necessarily obligatory, but we've seen it a lot, talked about it before. Dudes in shadows. The villain of this thing is a dude in the shadow. The guy, what's his name? There's some like guy with a gun who stole it from him.
There's Brigand. He's got Hitler's handgun.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Which
he
is
got
a cool
Hitler's
name.
Handgun.
Which is a cool.
It is.
Actually, I like. Again, this plotting is really interesting to me, because like I don't like Doctor Strange because he's kind of like a Deus Ex Machina, and he's like all powerful, and he's like. But at this point, he's already like a matured character. Like he as we see in the flashbacks, he was kind of a douchebag. Not kind of. He was a douchebag. He led his patients, that weren't rich. He'd only serve rich patients. He wouldn't serve poor patients. So a lot of people died because he wouldn't help them. And I like that, but also, like you get the feeling that was like 15, 20 years ago. And Doctor Strange has gone on this journey where he's like, he's recognized that was wrong. So like, where's his character growth as a character now? And so what's really cool about Brigand is that he is immortal, but he's a mortal person. And he also is just like, he says like, Doctor Strange is defeatable if you're smart and you're clever about it. And I'll just shoot him with Hitler's handgun. I'll get him with science. And then Doctor Strange has been shot, and really it's up to Wong Wong, who also has brain cancer. So like the story is Doctor Strange and Wong aren't 100% in the story. So like they are in danger. And then Brigand is a smart person who has already demonstrated he can defeat Doctor Strange, and he can do it again. And it's like it ticks all the boxes of why I have problems with Doctor Strange as a character, and why this story works for me in a way that other Doctor Strange books wouldn't.
Yeah, I think without giving too much away, I think you would really love the current run as well. But anyways, back to the story here.
I appreciate that, Vince, but I do wish that Brigand wasn't just a creation of Vaughan that has never appeared in anything else ever. There's a ton of mercenary type characters that this could have been just plugged into. This could have been Paladin. This could have been any number of, just kind of smart, morally ambiguous characters instead of Brian K. Vaughan being like, I'm just going to make up this guy.
Right. I'm like, the fact that I don't...
doesn't really need more of those.
No, I agree. I totally agree with you. I just like the role he plays is very good.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But you're right. You could have tapped in anybody.
Yeah. So we're moving on. They decide they're going to go after this brigand guy once they're all patched up and, try and find this thing. And Night Nurse is like, okay, I'm coming with you because I'm your primary caregiver now, and you just got shot and you have a brain tumor. So, we're gonna do it like the way I say it. And they're like, all right, whatever.
It is weird that he keeps calling her Watson, though. Especially,
I like that,
especially given that Benedict Cumberbatch is playing.
That is true. That is true.
That makes it really.
There was a moment. There was that moment at the beginning where, she's calling him Sherlock, like, hey, why can't you figure out my real name is Sherlock or something like that, and he just starts calling her Watson. They never even mention her real name in this book at all, do they?
No, that's why I didn't know she had a completely different name than Claire Temple.
Yeah, same.
I think it's like Linda Carter. I was just doesn't make sense to me because that's Wonder Woman, right?
No. Yes.
Yeah.
It is Linda Carter, but Linda with an I, and it goes back to the 60s, so it predates Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Oh, weird.
Okay, and like Rachel McAdams may or may not be playing her in the movie. That's what Entertainment Weekly said this week. I was reading.
Maybe playing Wonder Woman in the movie?
No, playing Night Nurse, and they had the picture of Rachel McAdams next to a drawing of Night Nurse from this book.
Wait,
in this episode, yeah. Rachel McAdams, from Mean Girls, Regina George. She's in the Doctor Strange movie.
Okay.
I thought Rosario Dawson was Night Nurse, and so I'm very confused. Is that what you're confused about?
Yeah, I'm very. All right, well, we'll figure it out after we see the movie. We'll talk about it. We'll figure out what's going on here. Doesn't matter.
There can be more than one Night Nurse. You don't know.
You're right.
It could be a midnight nurse, a twilight nurse, evening nurse.
And how about a noon nurse? That'd be good. Oh, then no, that has a bad connotation to it. Never mind. All right,
the comic Night Nurse was about 3 nurses. So
was it really? I don't know that I've ever actually read any only Night Nurse comics.
I think there's only like 3 of them, maybe 4. They were in the 70s when Marvel was writing comics for girls, by girls.
Cool. Oh, very cool. All right, so we get a few more flashbacks. We'll talk about those a little bit later because they kind of allude to our big reveal. We'll talk about that. They go after some old friend of his who was kind of like admonishing Stephen for when he refused to help poor people. And he was like, maybe that guy, he has a sample of this thing that I gave him to test out. Oh, that guy's dead. But there's magic being used to cover the tracks. And he's like, oh, shit, I know who it is. It's got to be Mordo. He's another, like, student of the Ancient One who learned magic, but then this guy went evil. And so they go off looking for him.
Which is
they
legit.
Jump off the train. That's pretty legit.
Who's the source of this problem? It's probably fucking Mordo. And
yeah, good guess.
And that's why I also like this book because like the fact that like Doctor Strange doesn't have an ongoing at this point, like you can't say like, yeah, it's probably like his biggest villain. Like you don't have to like hide his biggest villain if it was an ongoing,
Yeah.
Like
that's another thing I love about this. Usually they always make these logical leaps, and I'm like, oh, how'd you get to that? Like, come on, whatever. How'd you know it was this guy? And I like the fact that Doctor Strange makes an incorrect logical leap. Like, it totally makes sense to me. He's just wrong, And I like that.
Yeah.
Right. Wong is even like, isn't Mordo dead right now? And he's like,
yeah, come on. It's comics. Doctor Strange is like, dude, it's comics. Come on. They show up. Night Nurse proves to be useful when she picks a lock. Then they fight some fake Iron Man armors, and Brigand shows up, puts a gun to her head. And that's the end of the second issue. Another cliffhanger with her with a gun to her head. So this is where we kind of start to see who it is, because I'm gonna tell this one a little out of order. Doctor Strange and Wong, they're like, okay, Night Nurse is safe now. They beat up Brigand and go into his head. Doctor Strange goes into his head to try and figure out who it was who paid him or hired him to steal the cure for cancer. And in this world, like it's all crazy, it's mixed up. It's like Doctor Strange is seeing all of his former villains. This is where he sees that vision of Nightmare on his unicorn. And he learns that Brigand kind of has some psychic defenses in there, but he's able to blow past them and sees who it really is. And he's like, wait, who the hell is that? And we gotta get more flashback and get reminded. So the person that it is who has been hiring Brigand is a guy named Dr. Nicodemus West, which is the dumbest fucking name. But then again, Doctor Strange's name is Dr. Stephen Strange, which is pretty fucked up.
Like that's his Christian name also. Like he was born
exactly.
Dr. Stephen Strange. Like,
it's so weird. And Dr. Nicodemus West saved his hands after he got into that big accident.
He saved the rats of Nim, I remember.
But it also like wasn't enough, and Doctor Strange was real mad at first. And then one of these real like assholes, this bald guy that Doctor Strange refused to help, is talking to him in a parking lot later.
Well, that guy was like a legit poet, and like Doctor Strange should have saved him as like at least as good PR.
Right. But he didn't. And so later there's a scene of Doctor Strange in a parking garage talking to Dr. West, being like, hey, I hear you ruined his hands. Thanks a lot. I hate that guy. And he's like, what? No, I didn't do that on purpose. But I still thank you because I fucking hate that guy. And that was, it's a really weird conversation. Not sure where it's headed. And then we kind of get more of his... Like, this whole thing is really weird. Do we learn all about it this time, or is that in the next issue?
I think issue 3 is somewhere where we learn that, like... And I like that... Dr. West works for, like, a pharmaceutical company. Timely Pharmaceuticals.
Timely Pharmaceuticals.
Which is weird because Timely Comics was Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's weird that we're making them the evil corporation. Okay, that's fine. And I think even
it's not the first time they've done that.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah, Timely Corporation was founded by Kang the Conqueror traveling back in time.
That's a good name for it. Timely. That's a great name.
Kang. That's awesome because he's a time traveler. That's awesome. And did he make it a pharma company?
No, I think he was like a monopolist, like robber baron of the early the 1900s.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he founded a city called Timely. And then he founded a company that was also called Timely. So this must be like
stuff. Yeah. Like Marvel's 1866 era stuff is all about the city of Timely, which I do really like. Yeah.
Right. So this must be like a spin-off of that company that he founded that just does pharmaceuticals.
So they diversified because like the evil like oil company is Roxxon. Okay, I didn't know Timely. Okay, so I've never seen Timely as a pharma company, but whatever. I know that Wong is taking their brain cancer medication.
And all we really learn at this point is that like this guy Dr. West is kind of working for them, speaking with them, and they're just like, oh, we can't let Doctor Strange use this cure because then who's going to buy our medicine, right?
And that's fucking awesome. Like I like the idea that science has a vested interest in magic not happening. Like I think that's like I don't know if that's a unique take or like an original take in Doctor Strange or in Marvel Comics or comics in general. Probably not, but I like the idea. It's different than like science, like trying to appropriate parts of magic and incorporate it into science. Like that happens a lot, but I've never seen science like we need to shut this fucking thing down because we are a business and curing cancer is going to be bad for business. Like I think that's fascinating. I think that's, and this is what Vaughan does. Is Vaughan puts like the bud of an idea in my head that I'm like, this can go places. This can go places. He doesn't always deliver, but like he makes me think from issue to issue, like what's going to happen next. And I get really excited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they finish up Doctor Strange, Night Nurse, and Wong. They finish up with Brigand. Then they start heading home or wherever for whatever reason. I don't know if they know exactly what they're going to do next, but we see Nicodemus West doing some magic. Like, what? This guy knows magic? And he brings out a monster that sets Night Nurse's home on fire. Cool. And so that's our cliffhanger for issue 3. Issue 4 starts with the big fight scene. Wong and Night Nurse are in trouble. They're getting all snatched up by the monster. Doctor Strange has a great moment. He's like, this is why I didn't join the Avengers. Like he prefers working solo. And he uses Brigand's gun, Hitler's handgun, which he stole back from.
He lost his cape, but then he was like, "I got the gun." But I'm like, what's the deal with this cape, Chris? Do you know what's the deal with like I don't know what the Eye of Agamotto is or the cape or anything like that.
I know the Eye of Agamotto is like his main little gem that he wears around his necklace that like gives him most of his power. That gives him his power, but like kind of enhances a lot of his power.
Right.
Right.
And the cloak is what lets him fly.
Oh, okay.
The cloak of levitation.
Because I wasn't sure if he just like.
I think that's most of what it does.
Because I didn't know. Because I just like I'm like you're a magician. You don't even need a wand. You can just like use your hands and be like spell. Like why? Like I've never understood that. So thank you. But then he has.
He's got a lot of stuff. That's one of the things. Yeah, that's one of the things I also like about him. He's always got these weird artifacts that he can point out. Like this does this and that does that. Like it kind of feels like a 007 gadget kind of situation with him sometimes, and I do like that.
I'm getting like a Sherlock Holmes and like Doctor Who vibe from him a lot in this book too.
Yeah,
definitely,
I see that.
Definitely.
And it's not like when Doctor Strange is written well, it's not like he has limitless power or whatever. It's more like I don't know what a good metaphor would be, but it's like he is sort of asking these extra dimensional creatures for a favor. And sometimes they help him because he's like a good guy kind of thing.
That sounds like Constantine now. So.
Yeah, and or he's like solving magical mysteries and that kind of thing. Like it just kind of works well for that type of character who has a lot of power to just kind of not know.
Right. So when it seems like he can just do anything, it's because he's like he asks like the guy that made the Juggernaut, Sidorak or whatever that guy's name is, like, hey, can you like protect me in a force field? And he's like, sure, okay.
Oh, cool.
So it's not necessarily Doctor Strange that has that power as much as he's like drawing that power based on these other people. It's really kind of D&D type stuff.
Yeah. There's there's another not a big spoiler for what's going on in the comics right now, but there's a great arc about how every time he uses magic, like it's not coming from nowhere, like it pulls from somewhere. Energy can't just be created, and so there's like this whole temple of people that Wong has set aside there who are basically in pain every time Doctor Strange does magic. Like they're kind of taking the brunt of it, which is a weird concept. Yeah, I think you'd enjoy that. It doesn't give away too much about.
That's the Bachelot stuff, right, with Jason Aaron?
Yeah. Jason Aaron and Chris Bachelot. So yeah. Anyways, they so Wong, Night Nurse, Doctor Strange, he kills the monster with the gun and then magics the gun away into a bunch of moths or bees or something. That was a fun little moment. And they're like, oh, well, now I know who summoned this monster because I can just follow the magic. And they show up at Dr. West's place. He instantly puts them behind a magic barrier. And he gives this whole big villain monologue, which at this point I was just like, all right, is this all it? Like, we're just kind of resorting to the tropes here. But, it's okay. We get our whole big villain monologue, which I've got a few problems with. But overall,
it's pretty dumb.
Okay. I buy it, kind of. All right, so this guy.
Why is it dumb, Chris?
All right. Do you want to explain it, Chris? I'd be happy to hear you try and explain what happened with this guy.
Okay, so this guy, I'll get into why it's dumb in a second. But what happened is this guy is a surgeon who worked on Doctor Strange. He felt bad, I guess, because people were, he's like the top surgeon with Doctor Strange gone. And he's like, oh, I'm not as good as this guy, so a bunch of people are dying in surgery or not getting help, blah, blah, blah. So then he goes to redact Nepal out of the movie. He goes to somewhere in China. And
I thought they said Tibet.
They can't say Tibet because then they can't distribute the movie in China. Because China refuses
China.
to.
Oh,
it's pure money. Because if they had actually the whole the conspiracy theory, which actually makes more sense. There was a lot of controversy over Tilda Swinton being cast as the Ancient One. But had they cast a real Tibetan man and called it Tibet, then China wouldn't have distributed the movie in China because they don't recognize Tibet, and that's like $500 million. So it's not Tibet.
Right. They should have renamed Ghostbusters like the paranormal fighting team.
Yeah.
Interesting. Vince, I've also never heard anyone pronounce it Tibet ever in my life.
Really?
Is that
that may be a Texan thing?
All right. Oh, maybe it is. Oh, those damn Tibetans. Yeah, that sounds sexist.
That sounds like me. That sounds like it's very racist towards people who say things like Koreans also. But
I've been called an Arab before.
Back in the comics, so Nicodemus West, he is feeling bad that he's not saving these people. He goes to China and goes to talk to the Ancient One, and the Ancient One is like, "Oh, you just missed Doctor Strange, but for some reason, I don't know why, I'm going to train you to be like a second-rate magician in case anything bad happens to Doctor Strange. I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm doing this."
Right. That's the weird part for me, that the Ancient One didn't tell anybody, especially because we find out that he just, like, peaced out early before he was done. He was like, yeah, I learned everything I need to. I'm going to go save lives now. Cool, bye.
Right. And we find out he stinks.
I do love that Doctor Strange calls him a dabbler. Like, that's the worst insult that can be lured at another magician. I love it. You're a dabbler.
But I still, at this point, I'm like not sure how he became a villain. Oh wait, no, I remember now. So he like started to heal people, went and healed that one bald guy that Doctor Strange refused to help, but he fucked up and he exploded. And
like, fuck it, I'm a bad guy now, right?
Well, no, because the pharmaceutical company kind of hired / blackmailed him a little bit. They were like, hey, we'll kind of help cover this up if you start using your magic for us and kind of helping us keep other magic down. Which, again, still seems very weird because he still seems like a guy who's just trying to help people overall, and now he's been hired to destroy the cure for cancer. Like, that's kind of fucked up.
And also, I mean, Marcos Martin does a great job on like 99% of the art, but he looks just like Elijah Snow from Planetary, except with one eye that's a different color. I'm like, he's just Elijah Snow.
Oh, yeah. Did they ever allude to, like, mention anything about his eyes being a different color? Is there any reason for that? Or just so that we can recognize him when they show his face because he's just a normal dude?
I think that's the only reason. But yeah, I mean, Elijah Snow just has blue eyes. So it's like, he's totally different.
Yeah. So Doctor Strange busts out of the little prison thing, and it's a fun little moment. Like, you could have gotten out the whole time. He's like, yep. Beats him up a little bit. Dr. West reveals, oh, by the way, it's not just a cure for cancer. It's a cure for everything. It's a panacea. What?
Well, because I was going to say, cancer is not like one disease. It's like fucking tons of diseases. I'm like, and that's where I was like, I'm going to let this slide. I'm not going to say, in this magical realm that has a cure for cancer, it can't cure all cancers, right? And then, like, I guess somebody got my, like, note of me being, like, a little nerd. And they're like, it can cure everything. Deal with it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense now. I'm okay. I'm on board. I retract my earlier statement.
Yeah. It still seems weird that he would. Here's a weird thing. Doctor Strange had this thing, was giving out samples of it before he even, like, tried to test it on Wong at all. The other guy steals it. He's, like, doing tests on it when he's just been hired to destroy it. And, yeah, they kind of explain it away, like, oh, he was kind of struggling with it. He wasn't completely bad. He was, maybe having second thoughts. But still, this whole time, I'm just like, everyone's just, like, running tests on this thing. Just use it. Come on, start saving people. What are you doing?
Well, otherwise you're going to explode bald poets.
That's true. Yeah. That's what happens when you try to save people's life, when you don't know what you're doing. You explode the bald poets.
I will say, Vince, while you were quibbling with like, hey, cancer's multiple things, I was like, hey, that's not how ley lines work, because Doctor Strange has, I think in the first issue, he's like, the ley lines led me to this store in the Bronx. I'm like, what are you talking about? Ley lines are fixed. Like, they don't lead you to modern stores.
I think, as we established in an earlier episode, I did not know what ley lines were until I saw Ghostbusters this summer. So
yeah. Also, unless those ley lines are the reason that store is there in that location.
I
because
guess
it's an extra magical location.
that store was prophesied to be built there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, prophesied to be built there. The Kiyosaki story. That doesn't make any damn sense. Also, this issue has my least favorite cliffhanger because it just, like, they're fighting, and it's like, oh, I have the cure, blah, blah, blah. And then Night Nurse just yells off to something, Doctor Strange, Wong is dead. And that's where it ends, with Wong in her arms. Except he's not dead at all in the next issue. Like, literally nothing happens. She's just like, no. What I meant to say is, like, he's really close to dying, and we need to hurry up. Like, that was kind of a very forced cliffhanger, and it bothers me a little bit.
I do like the flirtation, which is building up in these issues, because Night Nurse is like, Doctor Strange, like, right after he gets, like, attacked, and he's like, don't worry about me, I'm fine. And she's like, no. Wong's dead.
Oh, that you're right. That was a fun moment. Because they do have this little bit of flirtations going on back and forth, which is nice. The whole Sherlock and Watson thing, it's cute. Mm-hmm. And you know, Dr. West blasts Doctor Strange with some magic, runs away, and Doctor Strange is like, "Hey, take care of Wong. I'm gonna go fight this guy." And they have a rooftop fight without magic. Because Dr. West has another artifact, the Sands of Nisanti, that can negate all magic for a few minutes. And so they have a hand-to-hand fist fight. Why not? Cool, right? But it turns out Dr. Strange can hold his own because Wong trained him in martial arts.
I do like that. That scene is so melodramatic and silly, but I do love it.
It's a good scene. You're right. And Dr. West falls over the edge of the roof with the panacea. Oh, but it's okay. There's a broken piece of it on the ground with a single drop left. And Dr. Strange has to make a choice. Do we take this back to the lab and recreate it and we can, cure all the disease in the world ever? Or do I give it to Wong right now and save his life? And part of me is thinking, you're Doctor Strange. Can't you just make a bunch of it right now? Like, do some magic? Whatever.
Well, and they're like, well, he can do it in a few hours. And I'm also like, fucking the whole first issue, Wong's like, I'm ready to die. Like, this is my job. Like, I serve the master doctor or whatever, and then I get a replacement. Like, that's what I fucking know I'm supposed to do. Don't try to save my goddamn life. Like, at no point does Wong, like, have a turn on that. Like, Wong is like, I'm going to serve him up until I die, and then I'm going to die. I'm good. But I guess a cure for all diseases existing in the Marvel Universe is problematic. That can, like, be literally duplicated from, like, one drop to, like, everything. Like, that's problematic outside of this story.
That's fair.
I kind of wish that West's ghost, because he is a ghost at this point, hadn't been like, oh, you have a choice. You can either take it to Wong or you can save all life. It's like, no, like, you should just be like, you really only have one choice, buddy.
Yeah.
You can either flush it away to no one, and the rats, I guess, will have their cancer cured. The ear will disappear on that rat.
Oh, it saved all the rats. And then they start to turn good and can speak English, and we make friends with the rats.
That sounds like a Guillermo del Toro movie, but with cockroaches.
Whoa.
Did you ever see that movie, Mimic, where the cockroaches evolved to human size and then attacked Mira Sorvino?
I never did. Did I watch that? I don't know.
When Thor turns into a frog, he actually fights some evil rats that live in Manhattan, so...
Man, I fucking love Frog Thor. Throg? Is that what they call him? I love that guy. Oh, the evil man. Yeah. It's my favorite version of Thor ever, is Frog Thor from the Pet Avengers. Man, let's talk about Pet Avengers at some point. Put a pin in that. Let's remember to talk about it. That may
be our April Fool's episode.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Let's do it. All right. So back to the story. They save Wong's life. Meanwhile, Night Nurse, while they were at the pharmaceutical building, they found a bunch of proof about their shady dealings, and she grabbed it, and Doctor Strange is like, oh, you're awesome. Good job. And then they make out. They do all that.
That's some good Foley work right there.
Thank you so much. That's exactly what it sounds like every time I make out with anyone. And they it did feel like not super out of the blue because they were flirting the whole time, but it was just like kiss and literally the end. Like, we're just gonna put this in there because we don't have time to explore it anymore, and that's it. And so I don't know if I've ever seen. Does Doctor Strange? I know he currently doesn't have a relationship at all. Did they continue this relationship at all?
I think this whole story was just kind of forgotten.
I think it was kind of the status quo for a little while. I don't know how long it lasted though.
Yeah, because I don't know when he ended up being in books after this. I know he was in the Defenders run by Matt Fraction, but that could have been 5 years later for all I know.
Right. Well, and he does join the new Avengers, some Avengers team, and Night Nurse is dating him at that point, and this was in like 2009 or 2010.
Because Bendis created this iteration of Night Nurse, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Okay, that's good to know. Good to know. All right, so maybe I guess usually this part of the show we talk about would you keep reading it? It's just a miniseries, so we can't keep reading it. But I think I certainly have been meaning to like catch back up on that era of comics in the late 2000s, which I wasn't a part of. And so knowing that Doctor Strange, dating Night Nurse, part of the Avengers, I'd be down to keep reading some of that. And if Brian K. Vaughan kept writing Doctor Strange, I think I would definitely pick that up. I don't know about you guys.
I think I like the idea that it's just a done in one story. Like, I don't know. I've thought about this. I'm like, I enjoyed this story, but I don't think I ever wanted any more of it. Like, I don't know what I don't know what a Vaughan ongoing of Doctor Strange would be like. Like, this book I think works well because it like layers in like stuff from his past, which is you can't go back to it every arc, or that like a lot of the heavy lifting is done by Wong and Night Nurse, and Doctor Strange is really kept at a distance. And like I read like the first few pages of the Bachelot Jason Aaron one, and I was already struck by like, oh, Doctor Strange narrates this book. Because Doctor Strange does not narrate this book at all. You don't get his internal monologue at all.
No, you're right.
So
about that,
so that's already like I don't know if I just saw that and I'm like, I don't know if I want to be in Doctor Strange's head. I like him at a distance, but I don't think I could read like 48 issues of a book like that. So I like that it's just like it's a good like Doctor Strange book, and it'd probably be one that you could give anybody if they like the movie. Like, here's a good Doctor Strange book. Read this one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair assessment. I hadn't really thought about that because you're right. It does. You say that Doctor Strange doesn't do any of the heavy lifting, but I think that makes it sound a little too much like he's not involved, and he's still very present in the book. But you're right. It does feel like you're on the outside watching him.
But he's more like Doctor Who, where you're following the companion.
I mean, I don't know if I agree. At the first couple of issues, sure, but by the last 2 or 3 issues, it's mostly Doctor Strange doing stuff.
Yeah, and I don't like the last couple issues. I like the beginning half when it's all promised.
Oh, interesting. I kind of forgot that Wong had brain cancer by the end because it kind of like I know they still talk about it every now and then, but I'm like it didn't feel like it was the important part of the story anymore. It just felt like, hey, we're going after this bad guy because he's the bad guy, something like that. Yeah, I still overall really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the ending, the resolution. The villain was a little like, okay, whatever. Yeah, maybe a little. Here's what intrigues me. I would like to see a story where the Ancient One is kind of an asshole and just like keeps training people and telling them they're the Sorcerer Supreme. And now there's like a million people out there who think there's a Sorcerer Supreme, and I don't know, they have a big tournament or something like that. I don't know why. I would just maybe like to read that story with a bunch of different... Because there's always these interesting like fighting styles whenever you see like a big tournament, like blah, blah, blah. Like that's the fun of it. Like magic styles. Cool, let's give us some different magic styles and we'll find a fun way to have a tournament out of it. I don't know where that story will go, but that's my idea for a Doctor Strange story.
Sure.
The tournament of magic. Why not? They could call it the Tri-Wizard Tour. Oh, wait, no, that's... Never mind. Yeah. So anyways, good
Chris,
stuff.
What are your thoughts? I don't know if we got your thoughts.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so I really like this story a lot. I really liked it when I was first collecting it and was just, I guess a college student, soon to be law student. I was like, this is a really good story. And I still think the art is great. I think it's a good story. Rereading it, the only thing that I was like, ugh, this hasn't aged well, is the villain. It's really, and I was talking to you guys before the episode started. It reminds me a lot of Hush in kind of the worst way, the Jeff Loeb-iest of ways, which is it's reaching back into the past and being like, this villain is your dark reflection kind of thing. And I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah.
Just
I totally get that.
Everything about Dominic West, or I'm sorry, Nicodemus West.
Isn't Dominic West the guy from The Wire? What is his name?
Yeah, Dominic West.
He is an actor.
Is he Jigsaw from the Punisher Warzone movie?
He's also Jigsaw, yeah. But we're not talking about him. We're talking about Nicodemus West. Very similar name, though. You're right.
Yes. Nicodemus West, everything about him, I'm just like, ugh, this is really, it's the worst kind of lazy writing where it's like, it's this guy that you went to high school with that we'd never talked about before kind of thing where you're like, really? Yeah. You think that would have come up at some point kind of deal where this almost, I mean, I think it did become, it wasn't written out of continuity, but it almost feels like one of those, Spider-Man blue, Daredevil yellow books because it feels like it's a, Doctor Strange year one book where it's like, how do we not know who this guy is if he's such an important character? And it's just a plot contrivance of a character. And I really didn't like that side of things. And the fact that he's also a evil surgeon like Hush made him even more Hush-like than him being I knew you before you were a bad guy and I thought you were good and we were friends, blah, blah, blah. I was just like, ugh, I don't like any of that.
So I, when they're doing all these flashback moments, I really thought it was going to be the guy who Doctor Strange refused to help. Because that would have made so much more sense. Like, if that guy found magic somehow and was just, like, finding a way to get back at Doctor Strange for being a total asshole, which Doctor Strange rightly deserves, and there is precedent in the comics for him having mistreated people, like, that would have made a lot more sense to me. And I think would have been easier to write, because as it stands, again, like we talked about it was kind of a stretch to have this guy turn from a doctor who was trying to help people to turned into a villain. Like that just kind of seems really out of character for someone who was created specifically for this story, there was some problems with that. But yeah, other than that, still overall enjoy it. Still overall recommend it.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else we have to say on the topic of this miniseries?
I'm good. The book is closed on Doctor Strange: The Oath.
The book is closed. Next time, Chris, this is your pick. You want to talk about it?
Sure. So we're traveling back to the 80s. We've done some Roger Stern Spider-Man a long time ago.
Yeah, and now that was real good.
Now we're doing Roger Stern's Avengers. The end. Well, it actually wasn't the very end, but kind of the thematic end of his years-long run on the Avengers. Under Siege.
Starring Steven Seagal.
Cool. I'm pretty excited to read this because you told me that Baron Zemo was the villain, and I'm a big Zemo fan. I can't wait. But this is issues 270 through 277. But number 272 is a fill-in, so we'll call that optional homework, I guess. I'll probably read it just so that I can, talk about it. If you guys don't want to, you don't have to. But yeah, 270 to 277. Can't wait. We'll do that next time. And boy, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to go straight from here and go sit in the movie theater and wait for Doctor Strange to come on the screen. I hope I sit in the right theater because I don't know if that they have those figured out yet.
Oh, is your Alamo Draft House in Brooklyn opening? Are you going to go to see it then?
It's open. It's opening from the time that we're recording this about a week from now. So yeah, I think that'll be the first movie I go see there, Doctor Strange. I'm very excited. If you've never been to an Alamo Draft House, I don't know where else they have them at this point, but started everywhere. In Texas, where we're from. And boy, best movie theaters. Love them. So I'm excited to have one within walking distance from me up here in Brooklyn. Oh, can't wait. Love it. So plug for the Alamo Draft House. Give us some money. That's not going to happen. All right. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time on the show. Thank you, Vince.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris.
Doctor Strange. Or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Oath.
Oh,
that's a very good ending quote. I like that.
I thought it was the Wong closing.
We're done. Bye.